Hey y'all, welcome back. This is my second episode of my series on the joy of hacking in Open Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. This time I'm going to be talking about merging tracks and how to avoid that anti-merging, and I'm going to apply that to building some dual stations, including how to build two stations with just one queue. So here I've got a wooden roller coaster, and over here I've got a twister roller coaster, and I'm going to talk about if we want to connect this track over to here and get the wooden train over there, how that's different than trying to get it onto this track. So obviously connecting these ones that are the same ride, it is just really obvious how to connect those. I almost don't really need to say that. As soon as we get to here, it connects, no big deal. Now let's compare that to the twister. Now in this case, if we get to here, you'd think they connect, but you can see that the train doesn't actually quite get there. So the rules with when you're connecting to a different ride are totally different. So when you're connecting to the same ride, basically just have to move into an edge of a piece and it connects. It doesn't even have to even be on the end. For instance, if I did this, that works too. It does get to that last piece. And whenever, it makes this connection where we have the track piece here and then we curve, and now this is highlighted and there's no track piece to build here. That shows you that, the merge has worked. You've gotten from the track piece you're building into one that already existed. Now let's look at how we would do this in the more interesting case, which is for another ride. Oops. So that does not work. But if we go one more, now you see it's merged. And it's kind of a weird thing. It doesn't immediately make sense. I think the best way to explain it, or the way I understand it, is that if you look in Tile Inspector, you see we have the exact same piece. We have this wooden roller coaster with a track piece ID of 0. 0 means a straight piece. And then on the twister roller coaster, we have a track piece of ID 0. And I think the game just kind of gets confused when it has two pieces that are exactly the same in the same spot, and it always picks the one that's lower in Tile Inspector, which is, unless you mess with it, the one you built first. So that would be the twister in this case, and if we change the Tile Inspector order, now it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't ever make it. The train doesn't make it over to these pieces, and if I tried to build off of this, it actually still lets me build because it hasn't merged. But let's say we do want to merge into it. There you go. So another interesting thing with this is if we merge one way, that doesn't mean we merge the other way. So you see here, it merges into the twister track, but then when it reverses, it doesn't merge back. We'd actually have to do a separate merge like that, where we merge from the twister track onto the wooden. So to go forwards and backwards, you need two overlapping pieces, and the one you want on the bottom is the one that is on that side. So here, the twister is on the bottom. Here, the wooden is on the bottom. Now, one thing you'll also note is that, so this is another issue. When I try to even build off the wooden coaster, it selects the twister piece because the game just really thinks that that one just has dominance, and like when I start trying to delete the wooden coaster, it deletes the twister one instead. But let's just clean up all this and start over. So another weird thing, build like this. It didn't merge. Oh, it actually did. So if you build the exact same piece, it will still cause a merge even if they aren't the same orientation, but the game doesn't tell you that the same way it did. You know, it just let me keep building as if they hadn't merged. So this is something to watch out for. I'd call this like a surprise merge when like you think everything is fine and then suddenly you're on the other track. And this can happen with any piece. It doesn't have to be just straight piece. You know, when you're intentionally merging, you usually are going to be using straight pieces because it's clean, it's easy to understand, it's just less confusing for you. But you could happen with any piece. So say we've got a break right here, and then we try to merge into it with our straight piece, and it doesn't work. But if we put a break, then it does work. So what really matters, it doesn't have to be a straight piece, it doesn't have to be any particular piece, but it just has to be the same piece. Can also be curves too, like a multi-tile piece like this. So I'm not really going to go too much into why you would want to do this, because there'll be lots, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future. You already saw in the last video that it's important to merge things when you're doing shoestringing because you have multiple rides, and there's lots more applications. What I actually want to talk about more is how do you avoid a case where you don't want things to merge. So for instance, let's say that, you know, this is a separate ride. It does its thing. This one does its thing. And then I want this one to continue on and share track for a little bit and then split off, which would be weird for a roller coaster, but you see it more with other rides. So we can't just build a straight piece here. We could build we could build breaks and then split off. Now if we wanted to continue without merging here, that's actually impossible because there's no other piece that has this big level to steep shape. So that's something you'll have to avoid. What if we had a hill like this, and then say out here we want them to split? How would we avoid that? So let's give this a little more speed. The main way I would do that is, well, there's a couple things. Don't do that. Oh my God. That was dumb. That gives you a good example of what to do when you accidentally merge things though, so that's good. So yeah, if you don't want to merge, you can build things that are banked, which doesn't really make sense for a roller coaster like this, but it could work for other rides that don't have banking. A really good way to do this for any ride, including a roller coaster though, is dinghy slide. This is kind of my go-to for pretty much anything where I can use it. I use the dinghy slide. And I guess I need to actually make this dinghy slide even faster. So you'll see now, oh, it hits brakes. That's the problem. I was trying to figure out why this wasn't working. Okay, make that dinghy slide. So now you see it goes through, and then it comes out the way we want. It never merges. And the reason is these are totally different pieces according to the game. So this regular hill is a 9 track piece ID. With the dinghy slide, it's a 74. Same thing with this flat piece. It's a 0 and a 68. In this case where you have different pieces, it doesn't matter which one's on the bottom. I could switch their tile inspector order and the game still works the exact same way. So the tile inspector order only matters if you have 2 of the exact same piece. So, alright, this is entertaining. Let's go look at an actual application of this. So conveniently over here, I have a nice, decent log flume layout, and I'm going to show you how to make a dual station for it. So first thing, let's actually build a separate ride next to, I'm going to control click to be at the same height. Build a separate ride next to our first one. And then, let's see, we are going to build S-bend left. And I'm not going to hit that because at that point we would merge. So we didn't merge yet because they're different rides. So they're not going to merge until we put the exact same piece, one on top of the other. So now, get your dinghy slide. And then just build along like this. Now here you run into a weird problem because I like to put chain lift on these so they don't go quite so slow. We put our dinghy slide, we try to add chain lift, and it makes it not closed. I think the game, just in my experience, doesn't really want to let you put chain lift on a dinghy slide, even if the dinghy slide, even if you have all your cheats on. So instead, we're just going to build banked track here because banked track can have chain lift no problem. And it's not going to bank because this thing with the log flume boats, it's not going to, those don't have banking sprites, so they're just going to look normal anyway. So let's get this running just to make sure we know everything's working fine. I like to put double on there when I'm testing, not when I actually open the ride, but when I'm testing, just because then it's just kind of habit I have with log flumes. That way you make sure that they don't go too fast, because those boats will go faster than just a single. And then yeah, it's just to be safe and make sure you're making everything have a long enough splash zone. So dinghy slide. This is not the most exciting part, but as you can see, the nice thing is it doesn't take too long. Just kind of mindly go through this. And then we're going to switch again to our banked track. If you're really lazy, you could just bank every other one. As long as it's somewhat banked, each piece, it won't merge. Now, actually, bank like that, and then we'll go to unbanked here, and then dinghy slide again. All right, here we're gonna do a separate drop because that's a thing that some real log flumes have, and it's kind of nice. S-bend left, and I'm gonna uncover this, and the reason for that is once I turn this back to a log flume, all this covered stuff is gonna disappear, but the uncovered part will not become invisible, which is what we want in this case. S-bend right, it doesn't merge yet. Here it would merge, but we're gonna make it covered again. S-bend right and uncover so it's not invisible. Now when we turn back to a log flume, everything should look good. Yeah, except for right here, we don't have the thing we want. But that'll be good to show too. So just a really quick, gonna build this in the opposite direction. Something is wrong here. There we go. So this is another thing to note. These aren't going to merge, even though, you know, this is a steep piece going up and going down, because one is going a steep up and one is going a steep down. So if you're going in the opposite direction, you really don't have to worry about accidentally merging so much. We might talk about that more later. All right, so everything looks good, and yeah, you basically have a dual station now. You could have an entrance and exit for both of these. And you're good. Well, unless one thing that can be nice is maybe you want just one entrance and one exit for both of the dual stations. So I'm gonna show that. Really quick. So to do that, we are going to actually get rid of this station. And yeah, we're going to build off of our original. So I'm going to copy and paste that and from Tile Inspector just because it's convenient. I'm going to build a channel right here, which is eventually where our station is going to be. This is where things get a little bit trickier, but still not too bad. Let's make this, give this a color that's really recognizable. And I'm gonna make this a dinghy slide again so we can see it. I think we're actually going to want to delete this, so let's make, actually no, I'm going to take that because we're going to want to have this here so we can see it. I'm going to lift that whole piece, make sure you click apply change pieces to apply changes to entire track piece there. And then that's just going to be for cosmetics. We're going to S-bend left with this, this guy, the closed one. And then off of our first log flume, we are going to change that to a dinghy slide. And S-bend left closed. So now that will merge onto this pink one. Now we're going to change back to a log flume. And change this back to a log flume. Now we're going to take this piece. This piece is totally here just for looks. And we're going to move it down. And it's at the very top in Tile Inspector, so you don't have to worry about anything merging onto it. It wouldn't merge onto it even if it were lower anyway, actually, because we have this from log flume 1 that's at 83. It's going to merge onto this one that's at 83, and it wouldn't ever merge onto this one that is a 38, hilariously. So that should work. As this video goes on, you'll probably notice my confidence level getting lower because I have not done this very many times. So it's a little bit, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't think we need this anymore. And then we're going to make this like a Mobius coaster. So when it comes out of the station, it follows this brown and gray track. Down the brown and gray tracks drop, not the pink one. And then this is going to be kind of our second station, which is where we used to have the pink one station. So like a Mobius coaster, we're going to go over to that. And yeah, we don't even need to merge because those are the same ride. So then when we come out of that, now we're on the pink lap. And then it's going to come down the pink drop. And let's make the pink one nice descriptive name for the moment. And it's going to follow the pink track. And now we want it to go back to our main track. So, theoretically, unless I made a mistake, this should be currently set up where if a boat starts here in the station, it will go all the way around, it'll come through here, then it'll be on the pink track and it'll go all the way around that, and then finally come back to the station. Now the thing that that's obviously not what we want there to be an actual station here. And we're going to have our entrance and exit here in the middle. That way we can have a single queue line and a single exit. And then the way we're going to do that is with Tile Inspector. So we're going to delete this. Then we're going to just copy our station. And then back here, we're going to copy our second exit station. Now, why did we do this instead of building them? If you look here, this says station 1. This says station 1. This says station 2. This says station 2. If I built these, normally these would not be 1 and 2. These would be 3 and 4. So then they would need their separate entrance and their separate exit, and everything would be separate. By doing them with copy and paste, we can have what's really 2 stations, but operating with you know, the game thinking they're just one station. Let's change this back to log flume. And yeah, let's get some boats on this. Let's see. Track is not a complete circuit. Classic. So boat hire mode is what you want here. Powered launch is not going to work because we have multiple boats on this. So we're going to go with boat hire. And there they go. I'm going to go fast speed and make sure that this actually works. So they go around their first circuit, then they go into the right side station. You see that they stop here. They would unload guests. They get more guests here. Then they come around and this is our first boat. Yeah, so now it is going down the second track, the pink one. And then finally it will head back to our original stations. Now let's rotate these. And I'm going to build some queue lines. Really just one queue line and one exit, because that's kind of the point. Build our exit off of this. It's kind of awkward path placement, but that's not really the point. Now, this is actually, let's see, let me put more, actually let me just decrease how often these leave. Let's say 20 seconds, give them a little more space. Okay. It's weird that they're stacking up there. All right, I'm going to add more boats actually rather than making them take off slower. Okay, when these spawn, they're spawning on top of each other, which is maybe a problem. It looks like they're all separating, okay. Alright, so this is what I wanted to show. When you have two boats, each in station 1, what happens when it's time for a boat to leave? Now they both leave. And this is not really what you want, obviously. This can be, in my experience, a kind of upsetting feeling to see that, because it's like, oh my god. I don't know, at first I was kind of not sure how to fix that. But I have a method that I should work. Let's see. Yep. Okay, now they're leaving staggered. So yeah, it's a really complicated fix, and the fix is just opening the ride. I don't really know why the ride behaves different in test mode and open, but if you're having trouble with the boats stacking on top of each other in test mode, don't worry, because once it's open, they will leave staggered. Now let's actually get some guests riding this. Use the large tram cheat, which I use a lot. I'm gonna make these entrances invisible. So yeah, you'll see the guests will board. And then they leave in a staggered fashion. So that's pretty much it in terms of building a dual station for a log flume. You could also use this for other rides. I used it for like a boat ride. You could use it for a car ride. A lot of different things. This exact method probably won't really work on a coaster because, you know, coasters, they have, you know, you can't use the banked track, for instance, here, because then the coaster will look weird and banked. And coasters have lots of other elements that you can't do with closed dinghy slide. For instance, like with diagonals, this becomes quite a problem. Let me just show that really quick. So let's approach how we would deal with diagonals. So we have this diagonal track here, and we have this, and we'll rotate like this so we can see whether it lines up. So yeah, that's if you want to actually get it to merge in. If you want to avoid merging, yeah, there really just isn't a way. I guess there wasn't really that much to show with this, but there's really no piece that will work there. If you're doing a non-coaster ride, you can do banking. For a coaster that looks silly, you might have a situation where you have a hill and then the situation is even worse because you can bank there, then when you try to go up, you can't bank and go up at the same time on a diagonal. So that situation, you're really screwed no matter what the ride is. So if you're thinking about doing these kinds of dual station anti-merging tricks, think about what kind of ride you're going to do and maybe try to avoid diagonals. Avoid other special pieces. Might be hard to work with, like for instance, inversions can cause problems too. There definitely are ways you can get creative. For instance, obviously dinghy slide and banking are not going to work on a vertical. Here's something that I was thinking about using on a river rapids ride that I never finished. But if you want to put a vertical lift, say you want to put a vertical lift on your log flume or whatever, I built it like this. So we've got the tight flat to steep here, then up here went to gentle and then flat. So one way we could do anti-merging with that is if this is our regular one, we can just build like that. And that won't merge. Yep. So what the heck did I just do, and why is it not insane? I basically just, instead of doing the flat to steep here, I did gentle in between, and then I did the tight flat to steep up here. And you'll see if I zoom in, now these pieces are at off heights, so I could make this vertical as high as I want, and it still wouldn't merge. Obviously, this is going to cause a little bit of visual discrepancy that these are a little bit apart here and here, but if you're doing a lift for a log flume or a river rapids, then probably all of this is going to be in a building anyway. So all that people are going to see is it goes in here and then it comes out here. So that's mostly what I want to talk about. I could talk about, I mentioned talking about things that go in opposite directions, but I think that's just too many things to talk about in one video. This is already getting really long, so I'll probably talk about that later. But all I'll say is if you're going in the opposite direction, then really everything's a lot easier, because when you're going up, you're going down, and when you're going left, you're going right. So it's not so much to worry about. Yeah, I think that's all for today. I'll hopefully be back with another one soon. Catch you later.